property, recognition, attainment here or there, and yet it has not provided them with what they were really looking for. Myself, a sense of being rooted in life, the fullness of life, as Jesus calls it, the fullness of life. And so there are many famous people who take drugs and they need to dull the dreadful unhappiness they feel inside, because even the illusion of more in the future that most people are still living by doesn't work anymore. Because if you already have everything, the illusion that the more, by attaining more in the future, you're going to be happy, doesn't work anymore for you. What a dreadful fate. You can't look to the more anymore to feel that you are yourself. And so they feel even more unhappy. They cannot escape into the next moment anymore. So they need to take some drugs so that for a little while I feel better. And then, or a few break through to a deeper level within themselves. And realize that that sense of specialness that operated on the level of better than or more than was an illusion. You can pursue it and it will take you nowhere. It can never fulfill itself because it is a thought form, me, the special one, that you wanted to incorporate into the story of me. That is the basis of your identity as long as you are trapped only in thought. Me, the special one. Some people have the fiction in their head that they are, and I don't want to take, by the way, away anybody's fiction if they still like it. You could have the fiction in their head that in a past lifetime you were Napoleon. And that can give you a sense of specialness, but it is derived from the movement of thought and images. But that keeps some people going. Nobody might agree with you that you were Napoleon, but at least it temporarily keeps you, okay, but you have to keep thinking about it and tell the story to others. And others have other stories where other people say, yeah, that's true, that's who you are. But it is based on the movement of thought and the emotions that go with those thoughts. So you have a whole identity based on a personal history. Very little. And it's not going to last for very long. The soap bubble of my personal history is going to pop soon. And everybody can say, I'm not predicting my imminent death, nobody knows. But everybody's death is ultimately imminent, because 1 year or 50 years, it comes quite soon. And it'll be now when it comes, not tomorrow. And so to be trapped in that sense of self, a conceptual reality, that is a dreadful fate. It's constant neediness, which even gets translated into the spiritual. Once you have realized, okay, I'm done with possessions, I know that that's not it. But be careful here with other thought forms that arise to replace. For example, you might have spent 20 years of your life making money, and then you see, okay, I'm now giving away my BMW, I'm going to buy a bicycle because I'm spiritual. And I will only wear certain spiritual clothes or this or that, it doesn't matter what it is. I'm on my bicycle, and then I can be on my bicycle and look at the person who is still so unconscious that he's driving his BMW and can think how much superior I am in my spiritual. And of course, what you're carrying now is a much heavier thought form than the BMW thought form. So your sense of self has become, it's quite possible that the BMW man has less of a sense of self than the man on the bicycle. It's possible, probably not, but it's possible. So be careful with how the mind shifts and then chooses another story to feel, but always to make itself feel more than in one way or another, so that it works through comparison, because it's thought. I have an image of who I am, and then I need to compare that to who I think other people are. So I impose images on myself, mental concepts and images, and then I impose them on others, and then I compare my image with that image. Okay, so I'm more spiritual than this. Or he's more spiritual, he's been at it for much longer than me. And then you go, how much you know. Knowledge is another one. You casually mention from your great store of knowledge, you casually mention a few things, and the other person is dumbfounded, doesn't know what you... And it's obvious that you know more than he. And that gives a feeling of, And so it works with little things to enhance its always very precarious sense of self. And then it loves being right. It loves others to be wrong, because it's the only way you can be right. It loves being right and feels itself enhanced momentarily through, I'm right. So it's always the strengthening of the fiction of self, the fiction of me and my story. And that people go through life looking for that. That's the purpose of their life, is to strengthen the fiction of me. And so that becomes the motivating force behind their actions, what they do. And it's always it's an uneasy thing, because very often you feel less than somebody else, and then you have to kind of work around that. Less special than he. He knows more, but on the other hand, I look better. And then other people, if they cannot achieve the specialness in the way in which the world tells us you ought to be special, they achieve a reverse specialness by feeling unfairly treated by life, by feeling that they are a victim of certain people or situations, and in their thought form of being a victim, they feel very special. So you can still win, even if you lose. The mind is very clever. And a victim identity can be very strongly lodged in some people's minds. And as soon as you meet them, and after 5 minutes, they will tell you their story. You know what happened to 25 years ago it happened. And of course, yes, dreadful things did happen 25 years ago, and they happen today also in this mad world. But building an identity around some form of suffering that happened at some point or repeatedly in this mad world where suffering is inevitable, to build a sense of specialness around that, then you have put yourself into a dreadful prison with bars all around. But at least you think you know who you are. You have a story. Oh, great, at least I have a story. My life treated me more unfairly than most people. I can feel more then. And so whatever the mind, it will find something to give itself an identity, a conceptual identity, and it is very much afraid of losing the story, of abandoning it, stepping beyond it. And usually the story needs to become unpleasant for people to be pushed out of it. It's because in a way the story is a dream. The dream of who I am. And if a dream becomes very unpleasant, then you will want to wake up. If no dream of me is ultimately all that pleasant, but some are more unpleasant than others. So see how the self, the conceptual self, continuously tries to survive, not only to survive and protect itself from others, and to use others to enhance itself, use them in one way or another. And that determines the relationship between humans. When you haven't stepped beyond that, there is wanting to use another human or feeling you need to protect yourself from another human being. Those are the two things that govern relationships in the egoic state. You either use them or you fear them. You need them and you're afraid of them, and sometimes both at the same time. And of course that also means there is no true relationship. It gets distorted because you don't know who you are. You have only an image in the head that tries to make itself stronger because it doesn't feel enough yet. I'm not enough yet. And so for some people the sense of specialness is attained by frequent complaining in the head and out aloud about life and situations and people and what's going on, and it really shouldn't be happening. They should do something about it. It's all very bad indeed. Why doesn't he? And there's blaming, continuously complaining and blaming, and that the ego loves because it makes itself right by doing that. When you complain about something or somebody, you feel you are right and the person or the situation you complain about is wrong. I'm not saying complain in a practical sense where you say, I'd like to exchange this thing that I bought because it's not working. That's fine. It's practical and you do something about it. But the complaining, that is the telling of stories in the head that has no practical purpose whatsoever, that constantly is in a conflict relationship with the present moment. There's always something about it that isn't right, and so you complain. Or something has just happened and you complain, or you complain because it hasn't happened yet. So many people feel they cannot be themselves or truly at peace with themselves because of something that happened or something that hasn't happened. Those are the two reasons why you cannot be yourself. Either something has happened and that's preventing me from being myself truly, or something hasn't happened yet. And if that doesn't happen, I can't be myself. Isn't that it's a strange thing? I need something to happen so that I can be myself. So we are not, all the many ways we are talking about this here so that you can recognize it when it happens in you, because it is a universal pattern in every human. It's inherited. It is the collective human mind in its egoic, unconscious state that operates in that way, that keeps you trapped on the surface of your being, on the little surface movement, the wave movement of life, the forms of life, all the things that happen, and you're trapped in that on the level of form, and of course on the level of form, which includes even thought forms, they are primordial forms. When you are identified with every thought that comes into your head, and of course there's never an end to it, because the next thought